Now it's that time of year when my reels need a fresh lick of paint and I've got to put some fresh line on those spools. Now it's that time of year when I want to go back to Boddington. I'm going to try and get on a few of the matches there, but first job is to put some fresh line on it. Now I've already stripped the line off the reels and I'm going to show you and talk you through what lines I'm going to put on as a starter, how I'm going to do it, it's dead easy, and why I'm going to choose the lines I'm going to choose, because I thought it'd be really easy, really nice way to show you what I'm going to be using for my current sort of season and campaign. Now, Boddington at the moment is a little bit different to previous years in the fact that the water level is super low. So as yet, the fish aren't actually right at mega distance at the moment, and they're actually sitting relatively short range. But if that level doesn't come up, there's a good chance that when it gets super cold, I mean, we're talking it's less than 3 foot deep at the moment, 2 foot deep in places. As it gets colder, if that water level doesn't come up, fingers crossed we get some rain, we might have to chuck extreme range. So I've got that in the back of my mind, but at the moment, a lot of the fish seem to be at relatively short range. So I'm going to show you the real lines that I'm sort of looking for and why I'm going to do things a little bit differently this year. So without further ado, let's crack on. Right, so what lines am I going to be putting on my reels? I've got 2 lines to spool up today. Well, last year we were fishing a long way out, of course, up to 100 metres. And of course that's a massive way. I was using £5, which is 0.20, to a £10 shock leader. Both detection mainline, detection shock leader. However, a few people actually said to me, why didn't you drop down to the 0.18, the £4? I think you'll increase your distance again. And I thought about it, I thought, well, actually, that 0.18 is plenty strong enough, so I am actually going to go with that this time. And that is going to be on my long rod, my 13 footer, and then on my 12 footer, which I'm going to use for sort of 50 metres to about 75 metres, I'm going to go for the 0.20, just for that extra bit. It tends to be, if you're fishing for them kind of ranges, you tend to be fishing for a few more fish. You sort of, at the moment, they're catching sort of 10 fish in a match at the moment, so you're going to be fishing for a few more bites. And I want the extra robustness because I'm going to be in and out a bit more. I need a little bit more durability. So the 0.20 is what I'm going to go for on the sort of mid-range rod, if you like. And then on the longer rod, I'm going to go for that £4 0.18. A couple of things, as you'll see here, I've got a pan of water. Anyone who's seen my little tip that I've done before about, I always use a pan of water. The pan's got the little lid in there. I poke my line through there, I'll show you that in a second, and then spool up in there. It's a great way to do it, it works a treat. Line wise, I've gone for the bulk spools just to make my life easier, so I've got the £5 and I'm going to go for the £4 as well. I've also got some 10 here, which I'm going to put my shock leaders on as well. A shock leader tends to last a few sessions, to be fair. I'm a bit picky with that. I actually change mine every single match, but I know a lot of people just leave them on for the whole winter. It's up to you. £10 line is strong as anything, but I'm just a bit conscious of it in my own mind, so I just like to freshen it up every single time I go, so just bear that in mind. So let's go on with the 12 footer to start with. Now, again, I've got the old Monster, the Monster Extreme, but I am going to have a new bit of carbon to play with very soon, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm counting down the days for the new bit of carbon to be in my hand. Now, I do like, when I'm spooling my reels up, I do like to do it on a rod. I think it just makes things so much easier. I like to thread the line through the eye and spool it on like I would do in a fishing situation. I think it's better, and I do like to do it in water, as I mentioned. Now, you'll notice that this is like a pale coloured line on here. I've saved you the boredom of me stripping the line off. I've already done it. I do it with a drill. I just put a drill and a ground bait whisk actually, and tie it on there, and it comes off in seconds. Whereas if you handball it off, pull it off a metre at a time, like the old school way, it can take forever. Now, to do this, because distance is everything, and this is good practice to do no matter what you're doing, it's important not to have any tags. Now, I've fallen foul of this so many times where I've quickly put some line on in a bit of a rush. In fact, I did it in my latest video. When I was fishing stick float, I quickly put some line on in a bit of a hurry, never paid too much attention to my knots. And then when I was fishing my stick float, the little tag end was poking through and catching my line as the float was running through. It was really annoying. It actually meant I couldn't really fish it very well because I couldn't get the blooming tag to go back down. So it's worth taking your time, getting rid of all those little tags, because it is a pain in the bum. And we just don't want it, And that's easy for me to say that, having made the same mistake, but don't make the same mistake as me. Take your time. Right, so this is the 12 footer, and I'm gonna go for the £5, which is 0.20. Now these bulk spools are dead handy. 600 metre bulk spools, make it even easier than it was before. And they've got 150 metre line markers on there as well. So if you are an angler who just wants to keep winding and winding and winding with no back in, you can do that now with these 600 metre spools. Also, it's got 150 metre markers on there. So if you do want to do multiple reels with one spool, you've got an idea of how much you're putting on. So great feature that is, I really like that. So what I like to do is obviously take the line off and then pop it in that little pan. And then importantly, I pass that tag through the pan like so, and that is in there like so. And that's going to keep it under tension, wet in the water, under tension. It's all going to come out of that line, and importantly, it keeps the spool upright in the pan. The spool is upright, and I believe that that is the best way to eliminate line twist. I know some people advocate it coming off the rim and stuff like that, but I've just found over the years that doing it this way, so the spool is straight up in the pan, or even if you hold it between some fingers on a pen or something like that, I've just found personally that that's the best way. Some people would argue otherwise, but I've never had any problems with line twist doing it this way, so I believe that that is the best way. And because I mentioned about the tags, I'm playing extra importance on the knot, the joining knot between the backing and the reel line. And I'm going to use an Albright knot because it's a lovely skinny knot. I'm not too worried about the strength of it because that knot will never be tested. I'm more important the fact that that Albright knot is very slim. So Mick did a great video showing you how to do it, but basically what I'm doing is a line in the reel line, and then I'm passing the backing through there. I then whip the backing around the main line like so. I'm just going to do it, like I say, about 4 or 5 times because this knot is never going to be tested strength wise, so I don't need it to be strong, I just need it to be compact. And then I pass that tag from the backing back through the loop that we've created and then pull it down tight. And that just creates a lovely slim knot, like so. No, it's tiny, minuscule in fact. And like I say, this knot is never getting tested, so we've got no issues with strength or anything like that. It's all about trimming everything nice and tight now and making sure we have no tags, because the last thing we want is tags. So that is as compact and neat as you can possibly get. That is a tiny little knot that won't interfere with my casting at all. I've got no tags or anything like that, so nice and neat. And then it's just a case of winding the line on. So I like to, like I say, go up through the ring on my rod, but I also like to trap the line in my fingers. You can see that there, I've got it trapped in there. It just provides a bit of tension when I'm winding it on, and now it's just the boring part of winding it on. So I'll speed this up and I'll see you in a second when it's on there. But as you can see, the spool is upright, I can see it, the water is doing its job, you can hear the spool going round, it's performing beautifully. So catch you in a minute. I can see straight away while I'm doing this, that knot has vanished, which is key. You know, we don't want anything. You could put a little bit of tape over it if you're really conscious about it. That's especially true if you're using something like a really light line, an 012 or an 014 reel line, where you're not actually getting much depth, so that knot is actually quite near the surface of the reel. That's when you need like a little bit of tape or a really discreet knot like that, because that's where I fell foul last week on that other video. Now I know I put 150 meters of line on last time, so I'm just waiting for that little tab to come through really, because I know pretty much where I need to be loaded to. It's nice to get a nice level fill, as in up to the lip of the spool, but I must admit, I don't overfill. I once overfilled and it can create more problems than it helps. And especially with line like this, and reels, the modern reels with their spool lips like they are, sometimes overfilling creates more issues. Don't get me wrong, you don't want it underfilled, but sometimes actually not putting too much on there is a benefit long term, so lovely. Right, so that's perfectly loaded. I'm happy with that. £5. Job. Look at that, beautifully spooled up. Like I say, nicely to the lip, but not overfilled, really important. If you can see that. And that's my 12 footer ready to go. I am going to put shock leaders on that, but I am probably going to do that on the bank I like to just carry a spool of £10 with me and put it on while I'm on the bank. It's a bit easier because I like to, obviously need to thread the rod up and everything. So we'll do that on the bank in a moment. And then this one, we're going to have £4. 018. Purely because this is my out and out distance rod. And I kind of feel like if I'm going to go for the distance fishing, I might as well be geared up like to get maximum distance, haven't I? So just got that in mind, and I do genuinely think there might be some long range fishing to be done this winter because of that that low water level. Now, one thing I will say about this is, even though you've got the lid on, you will get your work surface wet, so just bear that in mind. So £4 this time. Again, nice fresh spool. Just mega in it because I can obviously get multiple goes out of one. Fantastic. No faff. And detection lasts forever anyway. I know all tackle companies say that, but it does. Like the one I've just taken off felt fine. I could have definitely gone with that again, but it's nice to put fresh line on, isn't it? A quick drink. Still no Man United mug, although we seem to be on a bit of a upward trajectory. Forest today. By the time this comes out, you'll know the result. Hopefully it's a positive one. But yeah, things are on the up. So, not that that's the reason why I haven't got the mug. The mug is lost. As we did the mixing bowls, the blooming Mick lost me mug. So I've either left it in his van or I've left it somewhere. Maybe it's in the Wagon and Horses where we film the mixing bowl, because I have done that before. So same again. All bright knot, just to connect the two materials together. Nice and neat, nice and small. And if we end up with a situation where this knot is getting tested, then we've hooked a marlin, and I don't think there's any of them in Boddington, despite the size of the fish. So there we go. Nice and strong, nice and neat. Right, so £4, 018, let's go. Right, there we go. Beautifully spooled again. Just trim that off. That is a beautifully spooled reel, even if I say so myself. Gorgeous. Look at that. Perfection. I mean, detection does go on the spool. I mean, look at that. Do you see that? Detection does go on well. It's very smooth. Right, so there we go. Two freshly spooled reels. One with that £5 020. One with 018. Hopefully for a bit of distance fishing. And what I love about that is both of them are beautiful. There's no twist. They're beautifully laid on there. Shimano reels, especially these big ones, give you amazing line lay. And then that detection goes on there a dream as well. So we've got best of both worlds there. We've got good line and good reels. They're not expensive reels, actually. They're only, when I got them, they were about 120 quid, but they're probably a bit more than that now. But in the grand scheme of things, they're not expensive reels. What are they? Super Ultegra somethings? Ultegra XTDs. So a bit heavy, but they're good reels. And then that line is just, what can you say about detection? It's amazing. So like I said, I'm going to put £10 shockers on these on the bank. I like to go the full length of the rod and then back down onto the reel, and then have like a wind or two. The reason is at Boddington, not at the minute, but there's often rocks on the inside, and I just think that having that £10 line, a bit more of it pays off. When you're playing them fish around your feet, you kind of want a bit of extra insurance, don't you? So they're my reels, they're spooled up, ready to go for a bit of a Boddington campaign. All we need now is to get on one of the matches.